The greatest villains don't just test the protagonist, they change them forever. And in the case of Dexter Morgan, there's no target who changed the course of his life more than the Trinity Killer Arthur Mitchell. On the face of it, Dexter sees a lot of himself in Arthur. Both were born in blood, both try to camouflage into their surroundings, and both cannot restrain their darkness. He was initially drawn to Arthur out of admiration, believing there were things he could learn from an older family man who seemed to strike a balance between his family life and his criminal life. But by colliding with such a demonic force, Dexter destroyed the one thing he was trying to protect. By the end of Season 4, Arthur's actions spin Dexter's life in a completely different direction. He starts teaming up with victims, targeting religious extremists, and even befriending fellow killers he normally would have disposed of, all because he no longer had that strong family unit to uphold. So although Dexter got to be the one to finally stop his nemesis, it's impossible to say he won the exchange, as without his intervention, Arthur would have dove to his death days earlier. In fact, it was by selfishly trying to keep him for himself that he lost more than he ever thought possible. So let's take a deeper look at the life, death, and psychology of Arthur Mitchell, to see if we can understand why he was such an effective adversary to Dexter Morgan, and what harsh life lesson he taught him that he'll never forget. The first key is his public image. Most of us like to imagine we have intuition, a gut instinct that warns us when we're in danger or around someone we cannot trust. But the most terrifying aspect of any serial killer is that they may simply be walking among us, craftily adopting the same signifiers as those we trust. What if they aren't antisocial? What if they're not lurking in the shadows? What if they actually appear like not just an average person, but a good person? This is where Arthur Mitchell thrives. He doesn't hide from his community, nor does he crave the spotlight. He takes on humble and unassuming roles that are traditionally associated with decency. He's a church deacon, a high school teacher, a father and husband who gives back by building houses for the needy. Now you may think that the better someone tries to appear, the more they have to hide. But when Dexter meets Arthur's son, he confirms that his father is cool, generous, and everything that he appears. And given Jonah seems normal and well-adjusted, Dexter can't comprehend how Arthur is pulling off this secret work-life balance. But all that glitters is not gold. Just because someone can paint you a nice picture doesn't mean that whatever's in the frame reflects reality. Arthur is a beast of a man behind the scenes. He controls his home through fear, abuse, and punishment. So the testimonies of his family are all part of the performance. They know they have to keep up the act or they'll face his wrath. And the many projects he's charitably helped to build over the years aren't just homes, they're tombs, making every plaque of achievement he's received double up as a trophy. Unlike Dexter, he doesn't create two separate lives and then try to balance them. He infuses one into the other, so there's less evidence to uncover as it's all hiding in plain sight. At least superficially, Arthur knows how to fit in, how to give a friendly handshake and appear welcoming so that no one will suspect who he really is. A classic example of this is how he preys on his victims' weaknesses. Whether he's pretending to be a police officer when he tells a young boy his parents were in a car accident, or finding a random stranger's dog to use as a prop to start up conversation with his next victim. These are all social shortcuts that open the door so he can sneak inside, which is terrifying to watch because it shows us how quickly something could go wrong once our guard is lowered. The next key is Arthur's unpredictable moods. When it comes to social interactions, balance is a huge asset. We like people to be calm, composed, and to some degree predictable. This way we know the range of behaviors we can expect to not be caught off guard. And while Arthur Mitchell is excellent at crafting a measured public image, he still suffers from mood swings. He can go from the friendly church deacon to the big bad wolf to the lost child. You see, after his sister's unexpected death, Arthur likes predictability, ritual, routine, structure. This keeps him in strict control of every aspect of his life. So he needs everything done a certain way or his mask slips. For example, if you didn't dice the tomatoes into the omelette, then you have to start over. You only play baseball in spring, football at Thanksgiving. You watch the game before you make the table. His entire family has to do what he says when he says it, otherwise he'll lash out. He tries to limit these outbursts to within the home, as he views the home as a place where he can be himself. But once Dexter works his way into his house and picks up his sister's urn, he unleashes on him too. This shows us that there is a public and private Arthur, and when members of the public enter his private space, if they don't obey his rules, they're subject to the same consequences. But there's another side to Arthur that gets revealed when he hits a deer on the drive home. The lost child. This is confusing to watch, as we know Arthur has bludgeoned dozens of people to death, and yet now he squeamishly can't bring himself to even put down an animal, to the point he ends up pleading with Dexter to do it for him. This isn't random. There's something about accidentally hurting an innocent creature that triggers this weak, childish side to him. The same side we got glimpses of in Tampa when he forces his way back into the house he grew up in.
This is where it all started.
Which feeds directly into the final key, repeating trauma cycles. In some form, we all experience trauma, distressing moments in our lives that leave emotional scars. These traumatic moments create different responses in each of us, often becoming avoidant or combative as a defense mechanism. But sometimes we can become controlled by our trauma, unconsciously repeating the same cycles of behavior over and over, which forces us to re-engage with the original pain as a way to either resolve it the way we wish it went the first time, or repeat it until it no longer hurts us. In many ways, the Trinity Killer embodies repetition compulsion and trauma reenactment, as unlike Dexter, he doesn't take any pleasure in harming his victims, he even punishes himself for it, yet he's still trapped in this cycle of repetition. It's all because Arthur never got to choose the harsh direction his life took, so he's now stuck in a loop repeating his trauma, except with himself now in control.
It's already over. It's already over.
Just like Dexter watched his mother get ripped apart and now rips people apart for fun, Arthur suffered his own trauma that set him on this path. It all started when he was 10, when he was innocently watching his sister take a shower. But once she saw his reflection in the mirror, she was so startled that she slipped and fell, lacerating her leg with the smashed glass from the shower door. Tragically, she bled out and died before the ambulance came. So now Arthur repeats this ritual by bathing with his female victims and letting them bleed out in his arms, imagining he's looking at his sister's reflection in the mirror as the life fades from her face. After his sister's death, his mother couldn't handle the loss of his sister, causing her to eventually jump to her death. Something Arthur also recreates by kidnapping a mother of 2 and forcing her to fall. But he can't push her, she has to voluntarily choose to jump. That way, he can grieve her loss and feel that pain again, before leaving a sprinkle of his mother's ashes next to the body. But after his sister and mother passed, Arthur was left with his father, who blamed him, and the more he drank, the worse the beatings got, until someone, realistically Arthur, killed him with a hammer. So Arthur repeats this cycle too, seeking out people to beat him up before he finds his next target to take all his frustrations out on. But then Dexter discovers the hidden first step that starts the cycle, preserving young Arthur's innocence. This is by far the Trinity Killer's most disturbing act. He kidnaps a young boy who is the same age he was before his sister's accident, symbolizing his former self. In his mind, he then treats him to one final day of happiness, listening to his sister's favorite song, playing with a train set, and eating ice cream before putting him into pajamas and going for a long sleep in wet cement at one of his building sites. This is why his personality is so muddled between Lost Child and Big Bad Wolf. He wishes he could go back to the way things were, so he's trying to free his former self from the pain of growing up by stealing these boys' lives away from them. This shows us that hurt people, as despite everything he's done, Arthur still views himself as a victim. He made one innocent mistake when he was a child, and it destroyed everything. to the point he needed to become this violent monster in order to overcome his father and end his cycle of abuse. But rather than ending the cycle for good, he just became the perpetrator rather than the victim. And the trauma he uncorked on those closest to him only continued the cycle, as his son Jonah would go on to kill his own mother in similar fashion. So although Dexter originally thought there was something new to learn from Arthur Mitchell, the more layers he pulled back, the more the lesson was hammered home that try as you might, you can't escape your past, and if you don't learn to make peace with it, it will slowly devour you from the inside out. But then by leaving Dexter with such a sinister parting gift, Trinity ensured that not only will his legacy live on in his own family, but in Dexter's son, as now the pain of his childhood trauma will continue to be felt for generations to come. Well, if you've made it this far, firstly, thank you for watching, but if you could now give the video a like, possibly even leave a comment and click on that subscribe button, it will encourage that mysterious algorithm to do its thing.